I want you to think about how many podcast episodes have you listened to of your favorite podcaster. Think of like your top 5 picks. And I want you to think about, do they offer immense value? I guarantee you that every one of those people, the ones that you come back for more and more and more, they are consistently bringing full value, not teaser value, but full value to every episode. If you are a female Christian entrepreneur or life coach, you need a podcast. And if you have a podcast, you need a podcast coach. Finding a supportive and empowering community is key to podcaster success. Through my holistic approach as a trained life coach and my experience in the podcast industry since 2016, I want to encourage you weekly through answering your podcasting questions. I'm cheering for you, and your voice matters. Hey friend, thanks for coming on Holistic Podcasting. I am your podcast coach, Kristin Chadwick. Today, I want to talk to you about podcast monetization, and specifically, we're going to hit on how to align your podcast with your online course. So this episode is for you if you already have an online course and you have a podcast, or maybe you just started a podcast. And if you don't have a course yet, I really think that this information is going to be extremely valuable so you know how to plan your course accordingly. My goal for you today is to create simple, aligned, and fluidity flow to your podcast and to your business. I would say there's probably 95% of my podcast clients right now that are doing a podcast to create more income for their business. And so if this is for you, if that sounds like you, then this episode is going to be for you. I have a whole group coaching program where I walk podcasters through a process on how to grow and monetize their podcast. And I'd love to have you in there so that we can have personalized coaching to fit your podcast and your business. And today's episode is really from a coaching conversation that I had with a podcast client who's in one of my groups right now, who's wanting to monetize her podcast. She's just starting out, and it's going to be a great example for you on how to utilize what you already have to create a monetization flow to your podcast and business. You're going to walk away with having an idea of how to plan accordingly to your podcast and to your coaching business or your entrepreneur business. So for me, as I was coaching my client today, she was asking about monetization. She already has a coaching program that she's in the middle of launching and promoting. And I asked if she wanted to do these group coaching programs again in this year, and she said yes. And I asked, okay, well, how long is your program? And she said about 10 weeks. So here's a podcaster. She just started podcasting a few months ago. She's launching a coaching program. And here's the thing. I could give you many other options, which I probably will in this podcast monetization series. And I want you to work with what you already have. So in this case, in my client's case, she has a coaching program that she was already planning on launching. She's already in the middle of it. So right now, there's not much we could do as far as utilizing her podcast. But for the next round, this is why I asked her, are you planning on doing it again? So a way to think about, am I planning on doing this further on in the year? Now, how long is your program? Is it 10 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks? And in this case, it was 10 weeks. So the key is to backtrack from when you're planning on launching your next round of coaching or of your next course. And then you're going to backtrack, and that's where you're going to put these episodes that I'm about to tell you into place. Now, it's helpful for me to just give you an example so that you can hear this and start to trust this process. Okay? You're going to have to trust me. When you promote a course, one of the best ways that you can help people have a buy-in to learn, like, and trust you and to say yes to this program is to give your value away on your podcast. When people sign up for you, for your coaching course, your program, they're buying time with you, personalized time with you. I want you to think about how many podcast episodes have you listened to of your favorite podcaster. Think of like your top 5 picks. And I want you to think about, do they offer immense value? I guarantee you that every one of those people, the ones that you come back for more and more and more, they are consistently bringing full value, not teaser value, but full value to every episode. And when you sign up for their program, you're signing up because you have seen the value that they bring and you're excited to get more personalized access to them. It's worth the added investment. You see it and you're like, yes, I really want to work with so-and-so because I know how she coaches on the podcast and I know how she has provided and educated and encouraged through the podcast. And I can't even imagine what her course is bringing. I know countless people, tons of my podcasting clients do this, and it makes me so excited because you know what? It's the heart of a servant. We are bringing our heart out there as a podcaster. And so I want you to trust me in this process that you're not giving away too much value. You can never do that. You can always add value when it's personalized. So even like this, I'm in the middle of coaching a group through podcast growth and monetization. And when I'm working one-on-one with them, I see their specific podcasts, their specific business, their specific goals, what is success to them. And so I'm going to tailor it to fit them. Whereas in this episode, you're getting this value, right? This is basically the content that I was giving my client today, and you're getting this value. But it would be different if we were working one-on-one. All right. So another example of this, I always think about back in the day when I was personal trainer, I thought, man, everybody could go online and you could figure out how to plan a workout to meet your goals. Well, yes, so true. We can find all the workouts on YouTube, and yet there's something extremely accountability provoking when we put our skin in the game and we invest in personal training or coaching or gym membership or that one-on-one or group time with our course. And that's what we're doing here. We're connecting and bringing value to our listeners so that they see the value you bring to the table, and then they're going to say yes. So this concept of recording so say you're like my client here who has 10 weeks of a program, and every week she's got a topic. And every week that topic is going to be pointing to some sort of content, right? So my suggestion to her and to you is to go through your course, and I want you to record an episode for every week or every module that you put out. So here's the reason why. When you bring that value, like I just said, there's so much information that we can get out there on our own. And this is building the connection with your listener of, okay, if we're talking about, well, let me give an example. Okay. If you are a financial coach and you are about to teach 10 weeks in a financial freedom training, and week 1, you talk about money mindset and you do your program, right, in real time. And what were your participants' feedback? What were the things that they really honed in on? Was it a poverty mindset? Was it having issues with staying comfortable where we're at because of fear? Just really honing in on what were those common questions and themes you were hearing, and how can you touch on that in a recording? So For example, say you're that financial coach. You are week 1 in a course that you will be teaching again in the next quarter. So week 1 happens, you do your coaching on money mindset, you notice what your participants were asking, the common questions, the themes, and after that call, here's where you get to harness the power of freshness, right? So you're going to journal out, or you're going to take notes on Google Docs or on your notes app, and you're going to say, here's where they had really a hard time, or they really connected, or there were tears, or there was something that was connecting here. And this is your participants' feedback. Now that right there could be a show in itself, honing in on something that happened that was really powerful. And you're going to talk about money mindset on your recorded episode. Now, you're not going to release this episode. You're going to wait and put it into a bank, right? A little episode bank that you've got going on. Then week 2, say you're this financial coach, and week 2, you're talking about budgeting. So now you notice that some of your group participants are struggling with, well, how do you do this when you have a spouse that works or doesn't work? Or how do you do this with contract work? And you're like, oh, there's a very consistent theme here. After that weekly call, you're going to schedule time to journal and process through, okay, this is where people are really struggling. I'm really noticing a lot of pain points right here. This is how I can solve that problem. And then guess what? You get to go press record and utilize that time, a fresh perspective of what just went down in your group and what was encouraging. And you get to press record again. That's another episode, right? So episode 2 is all about budgeting and the common questions that we ask. And you're going to put that into your episode bank. And then again, you're going to go to the next week, week 3 of your financial training. We're going to talk about investments. What were those common questions that we talked about in investments? Again, you're going to get off that call. You're going to journal it out, write notes, press record. Again, you have episode for week 1, week 2, week 3. Okay, so if you have this 10-week course, you're going to go through that until you're at week 10. So now you have 10 episodes recorded that can touch on funneling people into your next launch for this program. So you have a whole bank. So this person in particular, this finance coach that I just made up, she should have 10 episodes that are going to promote her next launch. Okay, so if she's launching in September again, then you would go and plug all of those episodes in that you've already recorded. And if you're a weekly podcaster, you post once a week, then you would start it in mid-July and every week release week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, week 5, all the way to 10. And every single one of those episodes, you are promoting your coaching program. Because we want to have that fluidity, we want to have alignment, we want to have simplicity. People want simple call to action. So if you continue to promote, and not in a sleazy way, not in a gross way, not in a infomercial way, but it's just a natural part of your conversation. And then you say, hey, our next launch is going to be September 2023, and I would love to have you there. If you're really struggling with money mindset, then I encourage you to jump in and save your spot today. In those 10 weeks leading up to that launch date, you are now continually funneling your podcast listeners into your business. Now, let me give another example. Say you have a 4-week motherhood and prayer course. It's a weekly coaching program where you're meeting with your group every week for 4 weeks. And so if you're planning on launching in July, then if you already have it written and you're not currently in it, I want you to go back and I want you to go through each of those modules or teachings or content, and I want you to pull out some nuggets that you could use leading up to your 4-week launch of your prayer and motherhood course. Okay, so now as you have these examples on how to implement, again, if you have an upcoming launch for an online course, then back it up from your launch date, plug in those episodes leading up to your launch date. If it's a 4-week program, go back 5 weeks and launch each of those pre-recorded episodes and make sure you're promoting your upcoming launch on each of those episodes. You can shimmy it into your episode naturally, or you can do an ad at the end or at the beginning. It's up to you. It's your beautiful creation that you get to do. And guys, there's so much benefit to doing this and taking out so much wasted energy and really using a great funnel, because your podcast should be in alignment with what you're doing in your business. If you started a podcast for your coaching business, your entrepreneurial endeavors, then it should be aligned. If you need help with this, if you need somebody to come alongside you and really look at yours, like group time together with me in a private small group, then I encourage you to sign up for our podcast growth and monetization course. See how I did that? It was just a natural flow into this conversation because I am bringing you value. I'm literally going to be talking about this inside of our growth course. And yet the value to get into a small group with me and you, our eyes looking onto your podcast, looking onto your business, and how do we multiply what you're already doing is going to be so much more valuable, even though I'm bringing you so much value right now, right? So see what I did there? I just gave you an example. All right, that's it for now. I hope you guys really can implement this into your own podcast, into your business. And like I said, if you want some personalized coaching on this subject, please reach out. I'd love to have you in our next podcast growth and monetization course. Hey, thanks for listening today. I hope that you feel encouraged and inspired to launch and grow your podcast. And speaking of that, I want to personally invite you, if you are thinking about starting a podcast or you're thinking about growing your current podcast, I have an amazing opportunity coming up in the middle of April, inviting you into our podcast bootcamp. The first one is for new podcasters who are looking to launch and create their brand new podcast. And the second is going to be for current podcasters who want to grow and monetize their podcast. Come check it out at www.kristinfieldschadwick.com, or you can find me on Instagram and send me a message and that you want to know more.